So the results section of your project is actually not going to be massive necessarily, and it will be very succinct, very concise, very to the point. The idea is really that we're just going to present the results. So we're now producing the project. We've planned and we've conducted the research. We've collected our data. We've done the tests, and now we're going to present that and produce the project. So the aim of the results section is really to, in relatively few words, writing the past tense, state what you found. And you're stating what you found very objectively, so you're not saying having any opinion on what you found, or not saying discussing what you found. You're not making any effort to interpret the meaning of the results. You're purely kind of stating them. So sentences should, or this should be presented quite logically, so if there's any suitable order to how you, or structure to how you present each set of results, you would make that as obvious as possible. And you might use a mixture between text or illustrative materials like tables or images or figures in order to present your results best. You're basically stating the actual description of your results, nothing more, nothing to do with meaning or interpretation. So remember from research methods content that we will be looking and needing to see descriptive stats, so data that is descriptive and a bit more superficial. That's typically looking at the mean, standard deviations, charts, any graphs that illustrate the raw data appropriately to show any relationships, and then inferential statistics. So we've typically will use the data you collect, put it into a statistical test, and you'll get some values relating to correlation or difference as a result of that. And you'll be presenting that inferential results also. So it's no problem subtitling those two sections if that makes it easier to break things down. So how you include the data is equally important as to what you include. Obviously, tables inserted should be titled and labelled. Same with graphs, make sure you title and label them. Choose wisely with colour and choose wisely with the design. You can get a lot of very 3D amazing looking designs, but actually they don't present the data as visibly as we might choose. So choose for the outcome, not for how pretty or dynamic they look. Make sure that you reference or describe or relate your writing to the tables and graphs you insert, not just chuck them in there. And you should be, for the descriptive data, giving means and standard deviations and totals, or if you put a table in, it should have that information too. If there's a vast amount of raw data, summarize it in the actual results section and put all of the data in as an appendix. So we shouldn't have pages and pages of results sheets in the actual results section. It should be summarized in this section. Remember also that data at this point should be confidential. What you're writing up, we shouldn't know your subjects' names. You might number reference them or give them alternative names. So summarizing the results, very brief comments on what the results appear to show, no real interpretation, no explanation or discussion. State the statistical test that you used and why you used this test, what were the criteria for using this test. State the calculated value. So your inferential results from the statistical test will give you typically a t-value or an r-value, a correlation coefficient, depending on what test you used. So you're going to state what outcome you got from the actual tests, and you're obviously going to restate the level of significance that you set in your methodology section. This again is normally 0.05. Brief comment on the level of significance achieved, whether it was achieved or not, and then summarize in terms of the null and the alternate hypothesis, how that relates to the outcome you found. Pause the video, have a read of this. This is the sort of language. Obviously, you won't copy this word for word or anything like that, but this is a sample maybe of the sorts of phrasing, the sorts of language, and certainly the writing style that you might use. Just to really show you an actual example of a results section. Obviously they will vary slightly from writer to writer, but this again will give you a sort of factual, concise writing style with the numerical data included in it. You can see here a graph that's been included. It's labelled figure 2. It gives you the title of what the graph refers to. It gives you the variables between the two sort of images there. There are subtitles where it's appropriate, so the writer has organised different elements of the results to show off what they need them to show off. You can see from the statements, figure 1 shows the mean running speed at 5-minute intervals, blah, blah, blah. During the performance run in cool conditions, mean running speed for Caucasian runners was 17.5 plus or minus the standard deviation of 0.6. That gives the range also and the units, and was similar to the mean running speed of the African runners. Now it states it was similar, but it doesn't give, so that is describing the results, but it doesn't give any interpretation or why that might be so. So I'm looking for very concise, constructed, scientific, numerical sentences which describe rather than discuss.